So what's with your neck, Derek? You're like old school Batman in the cowl that like couldn't move his neck.
Yeah, apparently I like tweaked my neck earlier this week, and I can kind of like move my neck, but if I make a fast motion, this thing's gonna be hurting me for a week.
I'm sorry. All right. What is up, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody in between? Should we do that again?
Children, teens.
All right. This is the in-depth discussion.
Yeah.
For God's Not Dead 2, from the dialogue, where movies are more than mindless entertainment. We have kind of a lot of thoughts to go along with this. We just came back from watching this in the theater, and that was one of the best.
Gotta adjust, man.
You're right there, Derek.
Yeah, I'll be okay.
The theater was a really interesting experience because it was kind of packed.
Yeah.
And the old, young, like I said, everybody in between was there. You know, it was a pretty
everybody.
It was a pretty even spread.
You got the kids asking to go home in the middle of the movie.
There was that. There was like this little girl in the like 2 rows in front of us.
You got the elderly commentary from the back. Call people the spawn of Satan.
I want to jump right. All right, let's talk about that. Okay, let's get right into this. Okay,
let's get into the in-depth
Hopefully you've seen our review. If you didn't, click on Derek's face to watch our review. Okay, but then come back here and listen to us discuss it a little bit more and just rant and talk about it. So
yeah,
behind us, there was a couple of older ladies, I think that.
I think there's a dude.
They were saying stuff which I kind of liked. I appreciated it, and there was a moment where the prosecuting attorney from I think the ACLU was had this moment where he was introduced, and he did a fairly good job acting his part because they didn't really give him a lot of character development or anything like that, and yet still he comes in and he's just has kind of like a sneer and like a look about him. Oh, by the way, if you played Red Alert 2, this is the President of the United States. This is a geeky reference for you guys. Anyway, so this guy comes in and he's like says something, and then the ladies behind us are like, "That is Satan himself." Like, you just know he's the bad guy in this movie.
But you know what? It was a good job on it. Kudos to him because he did a good job doing that.
Yeah, he had like his opening statement. He had a little bit of montage thing, and then he had that one where he got up in the guy's face and was like, "You know what? I just hate the girl. I hate what she stands for. I just hate what she stands for. Okay, and she's going down." And that's all you had. But
that's kind of how the movie presents like non-Christians.
Right, and that's the thing I want to talk about, Derek, is that these people are presented via the film. The film gives them to you in such a way that the ladies behind us say something like, "They are Satan. He is Satan himself." Maybe at that moment I was almost like, "Oh, is this one of those those kind of religious movies where it's like the devil kind of takes human form?" I honestly started to think that. I was like, "Wait a second, are they gonna play mind games with us?" But no, it's supposed to be a person, that has his beliefs just like everyone else. Yeah. But the film presents him in such a way that he is pure evil, more or less.
Yeah.
And most of the people in this film, like you have the parents of the girl who's she's a main player in the film. She has a conversion experience, and then talks to she busts into the court, and is like, set her free. She didn't do anything wrong. So she plays a major role. Free. Let her be free. Okay.
I felt like I needed to bust out in gospel just now.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Anyways, what was I even saying? Her parents are kind of made out. There was a moment in the theater which most people we were watching it with were probably of the Christian demographic, but they're obviously not as caring about their son's death.
Yeah.
It seems like. And she makes this comment about, all right, they're taking away her son's thing, so make sure that's all clean. Oh, and make sure you put the milk away. And
just kind of offhanded,
yeah, people in the theater are like, oh man, so they are bad,
Yeah, oh yeah, that's exactly how it is. Mm-hmm. It's unfortunate because I feel like Christians, and if you are one of the people who would react this way, maybe you just kind of need to self-check a little bit.
I mean, that's what the film does.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is that when you're that's how people actually are, Like, and that's how the film presented it. And so obviously people think that that's how it is. But it's not that way. Like, non-Christians are not like, oh, your brother died last week. Let's move on with our lives, guys. They're not like that.
Get
like,
stuff out of here
there's some deep sorrow. And I think even more so on the side of, like, sometimes people who don't necessarily believe in, like, an afterlife or things like that. Because it's like, somebody just died, you know? Like, it's a big deal. Yeah, and maybe if you're one of those people watching right now that doesn't believe in an afterlife or something like that, and you're just like watching to be like, hey, you know, like, what do these people think? Maybe you could comment and be like, you know what, I've had experience with this. I mean, we're humans. Everybody dies. People have had experience with this, so you could comment and give your own experience.
It's true. And then on the flip side of this too, the good guys in this film are also presented as being perfect.
Right.
You know? Which, I don't know, like you said in the review, there's kind of no gray areas. There was one point where David White, I just gotta say I'm kind of a fan of David White, for better or for worse. Shout out to David White. But there's a scene where he is summoned to the trial as a jury member. He's on jury duty, and he's like, oh, really? Everything bad is happening to this guy, which I love. He's like... He's supposed to listen to this video to introduce him to jury duty, and he's kind of just doing it offhand, like he's not even listening to it. And this other guy comes in and he's like, what are you doing? Are you supposed to be listening to that? And he's like,
what are you doing, man?
And, you know, he unmutes it, and he's talking about, you know, and make sure you don't drink drugs, or don't drink alcohol and do drugs, you know, make sure you come sober-minded or whatever like that. And it was kind of played as a joke, you know, like, oh, he would never do something like that. But that was like the only point that felt somewhat questionable as far as these people's lives.
Yeah,
like the Christians' lives.
He's doing something that might be a little bit off color. You know, like he's doing something that's a little bit scratchy, a little bit hairy.
Yeah, but everybody else, like, people were perfect saints. Is basically what it amounts to.
On the Christian side of things.
Right. So, in the real world, Christians struggle with sin, and atheists can sometimes be more moral than a Christian, their neighbor.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
Something that I wanted to point out was like the propaganda drive of like the film and stuff like that.
Right.
One of the things about this movie, so the whole drive of the movie is basically like this courtroom case with Jesus and all that. The movie is really pushing, obviously, for freedom of speech in the classroom, particularly pertaining to religion and Jesus Christ. Here's the fact of the matter, though, in terms of like how I view this, is that Christians, like when you're watching this movie and it's like, we should be able to talk about Jesus in the classroom, we should be able to, you know, like preach, we should be able to have the worldview of Christianity. What you're saying as a Christian, and I think what most Christians actually want, whether they think this out loud or say this out loud or not, is they actually want not a free America, not a free America, mind you, a Christian America. Christians don't want necessarily everything to be free. We don't want freedom of speech in the classroom. We don't want people to be talking about whatever they want to talk about in the classroom. That's not what we want. Like, and I say we as in Christians, not necessarily me myself, but like Christians don't necessarily want that. They want a Christian America. They want everything Christianized.
Right.
And you know, that's fine. Maybe the question to ask is, should that be how it is? You know,
right.
And obviously there's a lot of different opinions out there. I hope that there's a lot of different people watching, and then they can give their opinions on why that's good or bad. But that's something that I've noticed about this. And then springboarding off of that, just think about it in terms of anything. Because obviously the movie's talking about like, okay, so they mentioned and talked about Jesus in the classroom because the teacher believed in Jesus, in Christianity.
Because the student asked the question.
Yeah, because I
thought that was done really well.
Yeah, which is good. Yeah. Like the way that they played that off.
Yeah.
But imagine if it was like anything else. Like imagine if it was like another main religious figure, and somebody started asking about that figure, and then the teacher believed that and was like, "Well, you know what? It's actually like this," and started preaching to the students. Would we want that? Would we want that freedom of speech in the school system? Do you want everybody to be able to pray or to have times of prayer in the classroom that could be anything? You know, like, do we want that in schools? I mean, these are the questions.
Yeah, those are really good questions.
Good questions, and the movie almost presented that, but then kind of like backed away from that and went in a different direction.
No, that's so true. Like at the very ending, like the court case was building. I feel like in a great way to where there was people that actually they got the authors of books, like
right?
Lee Strobel and some other guys that came in and gave like really good spiels on historical evidence for Jesus and stuff like that. That was really great, and that was kind of the direction the court case was going. But then like at the very end, when the guy got good shoes on,
and he put his good shoes on. His penny loafers.
I still really don't know why he changed. Like he got his lawyer off and on. Anyways, he comes in and he does like this new stunt, which was kind of weird, and it was pushing for the emotional.
My neck.
I'm sorry, bro.
I was laughing.
The emotional side of the argument, if I could say it that way.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, they just swung that gate to the other side, and then it was kind of like, all right, well, jury, you decide. So yeah, I really understand what you're saying, and for me, I would say the discussion of Christian America, free America, that's a really good discussion to have, and ultimately is where I would go with this is, I mean, what if it's anything else?
Right.
Like, what if you were in a country where you obviously, like, there was a religion to the country, or there was some type of really strict government ban? Mm-hmm. How are you going to act then?
Right.
Like, are you going to be like, well, you know what? I'm just gonna, put John 3:16 on the front of my bus, get like this big rig and just
right.
like honk my horn. I don't know.
Yeah.
Blow my nose and honk my horn all across town, preaching Jesus saves, and trying to get in people's faces with it.
Right, there is that.
And maybe there's a line. There's a line you can cross there too, or you're gonna try to have conversation with people in areas where you can. I don't know. I don't really know, but I know that Christianity isn't contingent upon the culture that you're in. You know what I'm saying? Like any culture that you're in.
Talking about
it doesn't have to be a Christian culture.
Talking about just kind of like what you're presenting in terms of like how would you respond to the stuff, like maybe taking a turn for the worse, what if somebody like you were in like one of these other countries where it's like Christians are being killed and stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, you think about that. To kind of springboard off of that idea though, and then to go back to like the movie and how it's presented. Mm-hmm. This lady is being quote unquote persecuted, which you could say, for her faith or her display of faith in the classroom. And what's sad to me, and this is a personal peeve of the movie, is that it all turns out all right in the end. Like everything is okay because you had faith and you had Jesus, so he's going to save you from whatever issues come your way. I mean, that's just how it feels in the movie. And how I want it to be.
This would be my major problem and my major point. My major negative point with the film.
Yeah.
Keep talking.
How I want it to be is I want it to be where she doesn't win. She loses. She loses her job. She loses her security. She has nothing left. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then it's like, where's your God now? Because I feel like to say God's not dead, it's like, it speaks more to God being alive that you have nothing in this life and you have God and that's all you have, than to have won everything in this life and be like, see, I told you. I told you. Right. You got served.
God is good.
You got served, son.
I like what you said after we got out of the movie. Like, so there's the climax of the film, and like right as this is happening, it's kind of like the girl gets out and she's going to reveal whether they won or lost. It's like the big moment. And the way she does it is she says, God's not dead, and everybody cheers, which is, I mean, it's a cool moment. But what you pointed out was it's kind of like they have to win the case. The way the movie builds it is she has to be innocent in order for God to be alive.
Yeah.
If she loses the case, it's almost like God is like
God isn't there. If she loses God is dead.
She has to win the case.
Yeah.
The way the movie presents Christianity, it's like she has to win the case.
Yeah.
And the way I would put it is like this. Like the reason we hope in things is because we don't see things. Like Paul said, we hope in what we don't see.
Out the Bible.
That's what hope is. We hope in what we don't see, or faith. Like just faith as when we get to heaven, we don't have faith anymore because we have sight.
Right.
In this film, the faith actually gets chucked out of the window, rolled up into a ball and chucked out of the window. You can't really roll faith up into a ball.
High speeds.
But when the emphasis is put on like seeing God come through in that way, that's almost taking the emphasis off faith, is what it's doing.
Yeah.
Which would be kind of like...
The movie does some weird stuff, man.
Be kind of my main pet peeve with the film.
It's kind of bad writing, but...
Well, you know.
Yeah, I gave my
opinion. It is what it is. It is what it is. I thought camera work was pretty good. And other things, too. So it's not like... It
was alright.
Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I'm good, man.
We're just going to sign off for now. Let us know what you think in the comments. Let us know anything else you want us to talk about with this film.
There's obviously a lot to talk about in the comments.
Yeah, this is... I want to view this more as a springboard of conversation, okay? I'm still thinking...
some topics.
I'm thinking a lot about, you know, how best to do this sort of thing. Like, as a Christian interested in film, this is why we're doing this. Mm-hmm. Reviewing movies one every week. So I'm still thinking about these things. I want to hear what you think. Okay, so come and talk to me. Let me know.
Yeah,
talk
to us.
Let's have dialogue, folks. Join the dialogue, subscribe, like, comment, and join us next time on the dialogue.